Hi guys, this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse. This is a clip with a new client. This is our first session. We had our consultation yesterday. She has suffered with bulimia since she was 15. She is now 35, so it's been 20 years. And she last 5 months ago found my YouTube channel. She finally got to the point where she has felt the need to reach out. It's gotten pretty bad. And she found me on YouTube and decided to go into outpatient recovery. And she's been doing intensive outpatient recovery for 4 months now. And it's coming to an end, and she's realizing that she's gotten no better and to some degree has gotten worse. And so she finally reached out kind of as a last hope to work with me. And this session is pretty intense. I am basically taking her through some of the most painful observations I had to witness in my own recovery, and really getting into what has to happen for her to get relief and to recover, and going into the willingness to gain weight. As we've met, she's obviously been diagnosed with bulimia, but I believe she is anorexic for sure, and she's just, the bulimia is a way for her to try to maintain the anorexic standards she's holding herself to. She is saying that as well. This whole session, I go over all of that with her. And so the clip that you're seeing is us discussing what is the risk of giving up, of quitting the eating disorder. And in order to reach recovery, what's the cost? And obviously to get relief from the torture and the hell and the kind of the darkness of this eating disorder, the only way to get relief from what you're doing is to accept what happens to the body if you stop what you're doing. And so looking at what weight gain would be like, and to experience it in your mind so that you can at least grasp what it's going to take to recover if you truly want to. And so in this clip we're discussing, what would it be like? What would it feel like to gain weight? Is it really that bad? Especially when you compare it to what you're doing and everything you are held hostage to try to prevent the weight gain. You know, I talk about my own experience in this clip with how hard I was working for and what it did to my life just to maintain this perfect body. And she's there. She's where I was. So, again, this whole session is just amazing. The actual consult is amazing. And I will be posting these sessions in the private Patreon account. So if you want access, if you want help, can't afford to work with me, join Patreon and become a Weight Loss Apocalypse supporter. It's $5 minimum a month. Some people donate more to support my writing and to support this work. The link is below. If you need help and you feel hopeless and you feel helpless and everything you've done has really just been hitting a wall, I would love to help you. So enjoy this session, or at least this clip. The whole session is in Patreon. All right. Enjoy. Do you want the thinness? If you see clearly it's attached to intense suffering. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most horrific suffering, where would you just rate this suffering?
10.
Yeah, it's worthy of suicide. That's where I was. I would agree with you. It got to a 10. Was it always a 10 for me? No. But it got there. And once it got there, I didn't know how to leave it.
No.
Yeah. You feel like you're in the same space?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's unrelenting. It's incessant. It's relentless. There's no way to get out. You're just stuck.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the last 4 months, like, you know, like maybe I was like lying to myself or fooling myself, thinking, and then the last 2 weeks, like, it's just like no, we didn't go anywhere.
No.
So right here and stronger.
Same place. Yeah, totally. So there is only one way out. There is one way. How do you get out?
How do I get out?
There's one way. You have one option. It's down. It's going out the bottom. And what does that mean for you? Well, there's two. You can commit suicide.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the other one?
Gain weight.
And be okay with it. That's the key. The key is being okay with it. That's the cost. Like the cost of that freedom, right? Because you don't get that freedom at this point for free. It's almost like you signed a contract with the devil, didn't you? So to get out of it, it's going to cost something, isn't it? You're a slave to the devil. I think you are in purgatory. I've been there too. It's the darkest, darkest pits of hell where there is no escape. Dante's Inferno, the bottom of Dante's Inferno, there is no escape. It is the pits of hell. And it is pretty demonic. You signed a contract with the devil. You said, I want superiority I'm willing to suffer. I'm willing to work. It's like, imagine you're in hell, a slave to starving yourself and a slave to isolating yourself from reality. And you're on machinery. I mean, it's like torture chamber, right? Because you wanted the thinness and you got your thinness, but you can't leave the cage. You can't leave that level of hell anymore. You can't leave. You can't escape it. Because your desire for thinness is keeping you held hostage to it. You have chosen to stay for the thinness. Because you have this illusion. It's like a mirage in your mind. It's a fantasy that the thinness will pay off. That all of this torture and all of this carnage and damage and darkness will eventually get you heaven. But you'll never escape. And why is that? Why is that? Why can't you escape? I mean, you signed a contract with the devil saying that you're willing to do all of this for thinness, thinking that the thinness would bring you heaven. But you got your thinness, and why can't you escape? Why can't you escape hell? Do you know the answer?
I don't know.
Well,
because I'm a slave to it.
Well, you're a slave to it because you're not willing to gain weight. That's why. Yeah. That's why. You're staying in hell. You have stayed in hell for a long, 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 long time. You refuse to leave it. Why you refuse to leave something that is so demonic? Let's talk about this space on a scale of 1 to 10. Is this something you should be proud of? Would you tell other people to join you?
No.
So is it really something that's worthwhile? Is it really worth it? is the thinness, even if you've reached thinness, is this really worth it? Is the thinness really worth this? Is what you get out of it, the pride, the superiority, is it worth hell that you're in?
No. No.
So
Not
let's,
one bit.
I would agree. It's like, but you didn't know that when you committed to this. You thought that it would get better, and it doesn't. It gets worse, right? And then you keep on thinking, well, when I'm thinner, I'll feel better, and it gets worse. And eventually you're at the 10. You're in hell. You got down further and further and further, refusing to surrender in total and complete pride. I don't want people to know. I don't want people to think I'm a failure, so your pride sinks you deeper. Right? Yeah. Anyway, so here we are. I'm saying, well, there's no way for you to get out unless you are willing to give up your thinness. You give up the thinness, what happens to all of the torture, the darkness, the misery, the limits, the closure, the being closed off, being disconnected, not being able to breathe, feelings of complete and total paralysis because of anxiety and fear of gaining weight? What happens to all that?
When I give up?
Yeah, when you pay the cost to get out. The cost to get out is gaining weight. Are you willing to gain weight? And it's permanent. It's not temporary. You need to see that too. That's a really important part of this process, is that when you pay the dues of gaining weight to get out, you are paying it permanently. Do you see why? Why would it need to be permanently accepting it, the weight gain?
Because it'll just be a matter of time before it comes back, before it all comes back.
Yeah, you go back in hell, totally. All of it, and it's worse. It's actually worse the next time you go back down.
Yeah, because you've had relief, you know what it's like. You've had freedom, and now you're choosing to walk back in.
Yes, that's like the binging and then the purging, and the binging and the purging. You've done that many times when you said, fuck it, I'm going to binge, I'm going to binge, I'm going to binge, and now I'm going to purge. You go back into hell. Binging is like a temporary, it's like a temporary moment of freedom. That's what binging is. It's like, I just need release. I just need to escape this for 2 seconds. Just give me a second. Boom, you get released, and then all of a sudden you're like, but I'm going to be fat. And then all of a sudden you go back down in hell. Bad. So this has to be made permanent. So if you're, I want you to look at the cost now. Let's look at it as if this is a decision that you might actually make. What if you gain 50 pounds? 50 pounds. Just from eating like quote unquote normal. Okay, just a normal human being. Because you're free, right? Living in that world of freedom where you no longer have to micromanage, you no longer live in shame and guilt, the food is no longer moralized as if it's a sin. You no longer have to do anything about eating food. You can just eat food like a normal animal should. Dogs, cats, animals eat. I don't know if you knew that. You get to be one now. Right? And you don't have to be a slave to doing anything about it. Right? So you get complete and total freedom from the dark, demonic hell of obsessive compulsive dieting and exercising, right? And what's going to happen to your body in exchange for that freedom?
I'm gonna get fat.
Yeah, you are. You should expect it. Okay? Are you open to that? So this is what I want you to look at. What would it be like to be fat? What would it be like? The physicality. Let's look at the reality of fatness. What would it be like? Would you be a different person? What would it be like to be in a fat body? What would it be like? Just start with feel. How would it feel?
I would feel uncomfortable.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure you're uncomfortable on a treadmill for 2 hours. And no, it is true. You need to see this because I thought the same thing. I thought it would be so heavy. Well, I'm basically creating equal exhaustion with my exercise.
Yeah.
So I might as well be 500 pounds because that's about the amount of exhaustion I'm trying to create is a 500-pound exhaustion. But so is it really that bad? Is it really that bad? Which one would you rather? So you see where you have to open your mind to looking at the fatness as if it's real. You have to see it from reality's perspective. And then compare it to where you're at and what you're doing. Right? So your first response was uncomfortable. Okay, well, let's compare that physical discomfort to your psychological and physical discomfort from what you're doing. Don't forget the bulimia, right? Don't forget the teeth that you're destroying and the esophagus that you're destroying. Don't forget all that. The cuts on your knuckles. Don't forget that. When we look at the physicality of one or the other. Extreme exhaustion. Don't forget you have PCOS now. You know what I'm saying?
Severely anemic.
Yeah, I mean, so you're prone to have heart failure. Yeah, right now. Yeah, look at what you've done to your body. Just compare the two. The physicality of gaining 50 pounds, wearing larger clothes, being a little heavier against gravity, or the physicality of what you're doing. I want you to give yourself an honest comparison of which one is worse. Which one should you be more scared of? If you had someone, let's just say a 20-year-old girl, which one would you say she should be more scared of?
The obsession with being thin.
Oh, hell yeah. That's like murder.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say you're better off just letting your body be what it is? Yeah. You're better off 50 pounds heavier. That would be so easy. That's like preschool. Yeah. Don't you agree?
I saw it. I saw it. Yeah, I saw it with the young girls in the group that I was in.
Okay, so go into your life. Go into what your life will be like when this body is bigger. And don't be conservative. Do you see why I went up 50 pounds? Why I would do that?
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
That's true. Because it could be that much.
It could be much higher than that, but it's because I don't want to leave even 1 ounce of hope in your mind to be thin. So I go way high. Yeah. You could go up to 100 pounds even. I went to 500 because I was that bad in terms of I was going to die. And that was how bad it was psychologically. So you know the physical paralysis that someone would be in at 500 pounds? Yeah. That would be paralyzing, right? Yeah. That's how paralyzed my entire life was in the perfect body. That I was within days of killing. With suicide. That's how paralyzed my entire existence was. It's useless. What type of life is that? I mean, you might as well die because there's no point. What's the point? So when it came to being 500 pounds and free to just exist and to sit on a park bench and to watch the birds, do you know how beautiful that felt just thinking about that? That I could be free to just watch the birds. Just watch people. Do you know what that felt like to me? It felt like I was alive again. Yeah. So to be 500 pounds and have that freedom was the best decision I have ever made. To this day, if God came to me and said, "Okay, Robin, it's time for you to pay that," I would say, "Oh, Any day. Any day I am willing. Because the paralysis I lived in, not worth it. There is no existence. You have to ask yourself the same question. You have to go into yourself and you need to ask the same question. Is gaining 50 pounds as bad? Is it really that bad? Especially if I'm willing, if I'm so willing to do that, if I would rather do that, that means I'm free. That means I have my life back. That means I have the ability to sit on a park bench and watch people all day if I want to. What are you willing to pay to recover?